Due to the graphic nature of its content, listener discretion is advised.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom.
On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Jocelyn, Bennett, and Mike sit down with Andrew Marr, founder of Warrior Angels Foundation. He's a Green Beret, lives now out of the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. And Warrior Angels, I love your mission statement, Andrew, and I want to get to it real quick. You do not raise awareness. What do you do?
Solve problems.
Hell yes. Welcome to the show, brother.
Fuck yes.
You are adding value to the world.
Thank you, man. Good to be here. Good to be here, guys. And I guess, let me caveat that. Former Green Beret, no longer active. But the mindset, the mentality in that line of work is, unconventional. And very much so as a problem solver. And when I kind of got into the nonprofit world, which is never anywhere I ever would have thought I would have been, just purely out of passion to right or wrong, I became aware of different types of behavior from other groups and how everybody's sole purpose is to suck up resources, to stomp their foot, and to hit their chest and be heard. You know what I mean? And I was like, well,
Sure.
What is that doing to change anything? And what's your recommendation? And how are you guys going about to bring about change? And started to be a kind of recurring theme there that nobody had thought kind of past that first one. They just wanted to cry and be heard and have somebody give money to that. And that pretty much just disgusted me. And so we're the antithesis of that. We're about getting right to the bottom, finding out what is the underlying condition of what it is you're going after. How can we treat that? How can we affect that? Mm-hmm. Where can we change that to make the most mass appeal on the greatest level? And then how can we move on after that's done, work ourselves out of a job, so to speak.
Very cool. Hell yes. All right, so in doing so, what is your actual mission? What are you up to over there? Because it's very cool. We got to get into the weeds on this. This is awesome.
Yeah, it all revolves around traumatic brain injuries and the treatment of. And what we are advocates of is a individualized approach. It's basically personalized medicine, because no two people are alike. No two injuries are alike. No two head injuries are alike. And so everybody needs to be treated at the individual level. And what we found, what I lived through personal experience, is that, hey, you've incurred head injuries. You have different psychological, behavioral, cognitive, executive decision-making deficiencies now, even though you didn't used to, and we're going to treat this with cookie cutter bag A with umpteen medications, and that doesn't improve quality of life because it doesn't get at the underlying condition.
Right.
And what we found was that TBI today, the treatment is predicated on psychotherapy and medication, and that doesn't improve quality of life. And so what we done through kind of just my own trial and errors, trying to find, hey, what is the exact answer? What is backed up scientifically? What's proven to work? And is there a place where it all starts? And if yes, can we affect that and then turn these problems around with change in behavior and returning to pre-injury status? And the answers to all that, long story short, is yes. And we partnered with Dr. Gordon, who is the leading expert in the field on neurosteroids that are produced in the brain, and finding out if somebody's deficient in that, we replace the deficiency. And after it gets replaced, quality of life improves dramatically, oftentimes back to levels of pre-injury status.
And this is an assortment of pills that you're taking, essentially. I mean, it's hormone therapy through pills.
Right. My protocols are based on me. So I do an injectable, and then I also do a number of pills, oral. pills as well.
Because this is intriguing to me because it seems to actually look for the source. I think even worse than not doing anything positive, I think all those medications that they have no idea what it's going to do to your, those psychological drugs, we have no idea the damage they're doing to people.
Unfortunately, we do know the damage. And for some reason, some asshole said that the pros outweigh the costs. And if you look at the evidence, it's not the case. There's nothing that supports that in the scientific literature. And I'm not a doctor, I'll be the first one to say it, but I can read.
Yeah.
And, so
Right.
I wanted, and one thing I tell anybody out there who's struggling is, man, you have to be your own advocate, and you can't listen to what people are telling you, because if you start doing your own homework, you start finding inconsistencies and things that aren't just making sense. And that was the case with me. But, I mean, we know that these psychotropic drugs are causing second, third order effects that
They're
very
horrible.
Yeah, very damaging to your system overall. And everything has a benefit in context, but if that's not even treating what you need to be treated, or you're giving an anti-anxiety or an anti-depression medication, and you still have depression, well, then maybe that's not the fucking problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. The reason it's so cool because it's a little different, because most people aren't taking it case by case. They're using these cookie cutter bullshit treatments, which, I mean, I say bullshit treatments, but they're not all bullshit treatments. But at the end of the day, everybody's different. Everybody's body chemistry is different. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody has a certain tolerance for shit that they can handle. So I commend you. And it's nice to talk to somebody else that thinks the same way, because the work that I do every day with veterans, I take it one veteran at a time, and people just don't do that shit anymore. And the fact that you guys, it's a no-brainer. It's common sense, right? That's what you do. And I think it's awesome, man.
Yeah. Thank you for that, man. And again, it's like there's nothing objective about saying, "Hey, I'm going to put you on psychotropic medication," or I'm going to put you on this because this is what I see. As a physician or a doctor, there's really nothing objective about that. You know what I mean? It's just that's feeling, that's subjective. So how do we get objective?
Give it a month and see how it works.
Yeah,
give it a month and see if it works for you.
Exactly. Really? Let's give you something that may make you more prone to suicidal ideation.
Right.
But what if objectively we could do a blood panel and see if you're deficient in the very things that affect everything that makes essentially you? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then let's look at that objectively and say, okay, well, shit, this person is deficient in their testosterone production. They're deficient in their DHEA. They're deficient in vitamin D. They're deficient in all these other things that are produced in the brain that, as a consequence of head trauma and post-traumatic inflammation, oxidative stressors, begin to over time deteriorate. And so, man, it's so simple and it's so easy. I think that's why it's hard that's difficult to catch on. It's like, man, we can do a blood test objectively, look and see where that person's at, treat that right at the root cause, and then see what happens next. What we're finding, what the statistics show, is that more times than not, a person is returning right back to where they were prior to pre-injury.
That's amazing. So cool.
So yeah, it's just common sense. It works.
You guys know the military, man, and what we think is common sense to us might not be common sense to everybody else.
No.
And so we never hesitate to try to just explain everything behind it so people can understand.
So Andrew Marr of Warrior Angels Foundation. By the way, just want to throw out the website. It's warriorangelsfoundation.org, correct?
Yep. You got it.
warriorangelsfoundation.org. We've highlighted a little bit about the problem. We've shared a little bit about the treatment. What should a veteran expect in going through this step-by-step process? A blood draw, is that it? They check some stuff, whatever.
Yeah. Great question. And here's how we've broken it down. And again, we broke it down from the end user perspective and that being an end user who most likely is suffering from head trauma that's caused, a deficiency in their cognition, right? So we wanted to make it just as extremely streamlined and as easy as possible. And how do you do that? Well, we didn't want people to have to spend a lot of time in doctors' offices, or at the VA, or driving around, or having to displace somebody from their home, their work, their family. And so that's kind of the beauty. I mean, we live in an amazing time with technology today, and the way we can do things. So after somebody's gone through our site, they've been okay to get treatment. The next step in the equation is to get their labs done. We work through Access Labs, who's out of Jupiter, Florida. So we will make arrangements between Millennium Health Centers, Access Labs, and the foundation for the lab kit to be sent to the patient. So say you're in Delaware, Bennett. So for the lab kit will go from Florida, mailed to you in Delaware. You'll receive it there. We will have had made coordinations with the lab that's close to your geographical location for you to go there. They'll draw the blood. They'll then package everything up. The lab will mail it back to Florida. All right. So, and that's basically the only time you have to leave your house to do anything in this entire equation and pipeline of treatment. So, lab goes to you. The lab kit goes to you. You drive to the lab. They take your blood. They mail it back to Florida. You go back to the house. Florida receives the lab kit. They run the tests. They draw the conclusions. They send that data over to Dr. Gordon in California. Dr. Gordon gets it. He writes the report of on your specific situation. He'll send you a 4-page preliminary document saying, "Hey, this is what I found." At that time, we'll set up a Skype consultation between the two of you. So you in Delaware will then talk with Dr. Gordon at a mutual agreed time through Skype, where he'll explain everything about your results in excruciating detail. Okay, and then he'll go over what he wants to put you on as far as your protocols, again in excruciating detail. So you'll have a good understanding of everything that there is, what the results showed, how he thinks it can be fixed, and the way forward. After that meeting, hang up the phone, close the MacBook, whatever, Skype's over. Then the protocols will either go out that day or the next day from California. In this case, if it was Bennett, it would go to Delaware. So they ship from California to Delaware, and you start your treatment as soon as your protocols arrive in the mail.
That is amazing.
So cool. No VA. I'm reading this off your website too. So it's no VA, no waiting rooms, no doctor's offices, no BS. Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. Exactly. So freaking cool.
That way, guys, we can treat anybody wherever they're at, and without having to displace anybody. And that was really, we had to think, unconventional about it. Hey, how can we treat everybody without having to go anywhere or have anybody come to us?
Right, and just do all kinds of stupid stuff all over the place. It's telehealth, right? Basically.
Telehealth, man.
Via free Skype.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Technology is wonderful.
Oh, it is. And here's the coolest thing is, man, you're going to have one-on-one access with the premier subject matter expert in the world on the topic. You know what I mean? Not some jackass doctor who doesn't know his left from his right. The guy who really wrote the book on putting on treating this deficiency.
So how did you get hooked up with Dr. Gordon?
I got hooked up with Dr. Gordon. I started the foundation, man. I was still probably not in the right frame of mind, but just passionate about understanding that there was a problem and knowing other people in the community that was having the same issues and just wanting to do something and still being on active duty when I started it and not really having a treatment plan really established. But
kind of like ignorance on fire is what I always call it.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, just motivated for all the right reasons, no plan in place,
just
nothing,
flailing everywhere. It's like, hell I'm going to beat this shit somehow. I don't know how, but that's what's going to happen.
It was iteration, man. It was one thing after another and trying things out and trying to just honestly figure out, what is the deal. But with that, we were able to get some media early this year. We had a Fox News article, and Dr. Gordon read it, and he contacted me. He sent me an email. He's like, hey, we've been helping veterans for a while. See if, he sent me a link to some media. He's like, see if this is of interest to you. He's like, hey, I'm not a kook, by the way.
Right.
You were probably shitting your pants.
Yeah, dude. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, this guy says he's a doctor. He says he's not a kook. He's like, I'm gonna check.
Probably a kook.
Yeah, like I'm gonna check out his links because it could be some funny shit. And it turned out I was just blown away with the content he was putting out and his rationale for his treatment process, because the things that were being put out was like me in the mirror. Like everything that this other dude's saying that he had, this, that, and the other. I mean, like, I was like, oh my God, that's me, and that's basically every other dude that I know that's having this problem. And he's saying it all stems from this one place, and we can effectively treat it right here and virtually fix the issue. I was like, this is unbelievable. So before we kind of, so that was like the first phone call, man. And then I was out in California for a couple of months earlier in the year and end up going over to his office, getting treated, or having my blood drawn and everything and getting on the protocols. And I had a very quick reaction when I was on it. Within weeks, I was just like a new person. And that's kind of how that started, man. And one thing led to another, and we kind of got some steam. And then I was like, we need to make this the central focus of what we're doing with the foundation. And of course, he was all for it, and kind of just joined forces there, and a true collaborative effort and meshing of two good and different networks and bringing them together. It's kind of been a reason we've been able to have some success as well, I think.
Me and Mike were listening to when you were on Joe Rogan. I was like, Mike, dude, like, this is it, like right here.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting also, we should kind of go back on that as well. We were, Jocelyn and I were driving out to Nashville, which from Raleigh is 8.5 hours each way.
Mm-hmm.
So, great time for podcasts.
Yeah.
Right? And we slapped on Joe Rogan, heard yours on the way through, and it was inspiring in two angles, at least from my own occur. What Jocelyn just highlighted, but then also the collaborative effort that comes along with it, and how veterans can help each other, especially in order to spread the word about what you're doing, in order to get more people through the pipeline. It's leads, it's actionable leads, getting people to reach out and do this sort of stuff. And I'll tell you why we were driving out to Nashville was for Operation Give Back, which we had a bunch of fellow wounded warriors who were running from Chattanooga up to Nashville in support of the families of the fallen who were killed in Chattanooga, and getting those families Christmas presents for the kids, which was a fantastic honor. So It's weird. It's like you're driving to this veteran event, listening to a veteran, and you're thinking, as a veteran, we need to collaborate and get this word out to other veterans.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
Absolutely, man.
So, which leads me to a question. When you were starting the company, when you were starting, the 501, did you use any of your military planning processes? Did you go through any educational routes in order to get where you're at right now?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I would say everything I run and do, basically, that has any order to it, is a direct result of kind of my military decision-making process, and not necessarily like, stuff that comes right out of the book or anything like that, but just ability to define the end state, make that clear as possible, and then work backwards. And I feel like when you do that, when you first can define your end state, and then write out objectives and timelines that you need to do to get you there, and then effectively find how you can fill that role with different people, and then also figure out what other people's strengths are and weaknesses are, and figure out how to maximize and minimize those, and push them in that direction. And that's leadership 101. But yes, that all came from my military background, I would say.
Okay, because it's always fun to ask, because a lot of different people that are out there, they don't necessarily connect the two in order to become successful in the next mission. I myself am one of those people. When I got out, left. I didn't say, screw the Corps or anything like that. It's just I didn't necessarily realize that I could use a lot of the stuff that I learned in the military in order to go and run a business. So that's one of the things that I really like to ask our guests, because it seems to be a common thread. And with that being said, also, you being former Green Beret, what was your role in the Green Beret?
I was an engineer, so dealing with explosive. I was explosives expert, and then a lot of logistical stuff that's not as cool, but operational wise, everything to deal with explosives.
Okay. And again, the reason why I ask is because I was an embedded advisor in Kajaki, and a lot of the stuff that we learned or used as advisors were Green Beret curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that we stole out of your textbooks in order to get the mission accomplished.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you had used any of those, process. I use that shit every goddamn day. I'm here to tell you right now, all of the stuff that I learned in advisor training, I use every day in order to build rapport, network, and get the job done across the board. So.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. And what I realized, I think midway in my military career was take the physical aspect out of it. What we were was problem solvers, or what we were supposed to be. And the thing that kind of set us apart, or and ideally would set us apart, was the ability to solve complex problems in remote areas, in an environment that is a different culture than yours, with an indigenous force that probably doesn't speak your language. You know what I mean? And with very little resources or assets, and understanding that failure just isn't an option, or, hey, I don't really feel like going this extra step to make sure, this thing gets accomplished or solved, again, just wasn't an option, especially when you have 11 other dudes that are putting out just as much as you are, and they're counting on you to carry your weight, and you're counting on them to carry their weight. Then that's a beautiful thing. But just kind of understanding, how to look at things, again, I probably say it too much, but look at things a little bit unconventionally or outside the box on how to solve a problem. Because what I found outside is that people, versions of leadership is either telling somebody else what to do, or just being told what to do, and then regurgitating that. And I think that that real leadership is a much different concept than that. And if you're just regurgitating information and telling somebody to do something, you're not going to get anything solved.
Yeah, I think there's a big disconnect nowadays, especially, and even in the military. I'd say in more of the like line units and whatnot, there's this big disconnection between management and leadership.
Oh yeah.
And especially in the special operations community, almost every person there, but pretty much every person there, could just take up the reins of leadership at any given moment. So that's a good thing or a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's why we had the chain of command. So it's kind of makes it easier. But I find, especially going with that mindset, moving to the civilian world, that you're just surrounded by so many managers that are in leadership roles, that it just tears it all apart. And I think that's something that we need as veterans to bring to the table, is actual real leadership. Not that every veteran's a real leader, but you know what I'm saying. It's something that we can definitely add to the corporate world, I guess you could say, as a whole, is real leadership skill.
I agree 100%, Bennett, and you said it well, man. And I think there's a misnomer, and often leadership can be understood or is just management today. It's not leadership, it's management. And you can apply that to the military, and I think oftentimes leadership just is management.
Absolutely.
But when you can have a person who can truly be able to take a group in one location and get them all on the same page and move them to another location in harmony, then and understand why and how every person's role there is pivotal to the group, and understand that, then that my friend is leadership, and
Absolutely.
that is something that veterans can bring to the table. And you're right, not everyone's going to do that, but you have to be able to draw on our experiences and then put them in new situations, i.e., transitioning out of the service into business or entrepreneurship or just life after. Man, it doesn't stop there, and those skills translate wherever you go if you're willing to assert them.
Yeah, because so many guys just get caught up in they're so used to being belt fed everything.
Yeah.
Even though they have the skills to be, it's like, especially you've.
Oh man, he was. You know what? His levels were so good too for a while there. I was just thinking to myself, "Fuck, I jinxed it. I'm sorry." Well, in the interim, I just wanted to ask if you collaborated with any other veterans in building the company or any other veterinatorial, veteran-led companies that you've worked with along the way.
Oh, too many to list off, man. Yes, along the whole way, now more than ever. So yeah, we're not on an island, nor do we want to be. We're out partnering and working with anybody and everybody that we think is providing value, and any kind of symbiotic relationship that we come across, we try to engage in.
Very cool. Look at that. Andrew Marr, WarriorAngelsFoundation.org. Get in touch with them. Collaborate. That's what we're all about. Bennett, does your signal not suck anymore?
I hope it doesn't. The problem is I've got, again, 4 little girls in there, probably each one of them with a device sucking the Wi-Fi right out of this thing. So
yeah.
I guess basically the long story short is that a lot of guys get out. A lot of guys are injured, and on top of that, they drop their ruck. And Mike and I have talked, and Jocelyn have talked about this extensively. They just drop their ruck, and they're like, I kind of need somebody to help me out here, take care of me. But they kind of push back on it because they drop their ruck. They don't want anything to do with guys in the military,
That's a pack in Marine Corps, just for Marine listeners.
Oh Lord, see, I got armified, so that's what happens. I mean, Andrew's an Army guy, but I was a Marine and then I was in the Army. Andrew,
right on.
I got out.
It's not his fault.
It isn't my fault. I spent 6 years in the Army infantry, so kind of got turned according to these guys.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's about showing guys that they aren't their injury, that they're not their what everyone is telling them is wrong with them, that they have the power to take this shit back, right, and be the guys that they were back in the day, or they still are. And that's why I think this whole treatment, especially that you talk about how it affected you so quickly,
right?
It just it's very inspiring, and I've got a bunch of guys that I've got to send your way. So
yeah, absolutely, man. That's one of the reasons that I just I never thought twice about being local, and my reputation or credibility as far as combat tested or proven was never up for question. So I didn't have a problem, saying this, nor was it really questioned by anybody. Oh, I don't think he's being truthful, or this just doesn't make sense. It was like, oh, holy shit, this can really happen. What do we do? And then we found out, well, nobody really knows what to do. And so I was like, hey, man, if we can stop this and let other guys understand what's going on to them, because that's the big one, man. When you start falling off the crazy train and you don't know why, then all you think is, I've fucking lost my mind. And nobody can seem to point a finger at where it's at. You're on a bunch of medications, you're drinking, you're not thinking clearly, and then you're acting in ways that you never wanted to act. You're hurting people that you never wanted to hurt. And then it's easy to think, man, I think it would just be easier to end this suffering. And I thought that was an act of a weak person. I really did, until we started losing guys in the unit, one after the other. And I'm not talking about dudes that worked in logistics and never were on the front lines.
No, like the hardest dudes you've ever met.
Battle-hardened dudes who, was an expert at making difficult decisions, and they thought that ending their life was the best decision possible. So when that started happening in a short span, a number of dudes doing that, like, we all had to take a step back and think, there's something fucking to this. I don't know what it is, but it's no longer just an excuse of somebody being weak or some PFC that was not meant to do this line of work. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that kind of was kind of eye-opening to me. And then dealing with my situation, it was just like, hey, man, nobody's talking about this. And dudes are just offing themselves and going out and making bad decisions in public and just having damning effects to themselves, their family, their careers, and everything else. I'm like, so, hey, if I stand up and I have to tell some personal stories, I don't give a fuck. I don't, because if it helps anybody and they realize that, oh shit, okay, well, this is not a weakness. It's because I've been in so many fucking explosions that my brain doesn't work right now, and now I can't go through the day without having a panic attack. We understand that now. We at the level of the brain, we understand exactly where that happens. Like, all that is directed to the neurosteroids that are made in your brain, and it's a deficiency, and we can fix it. So that's the message, man. Hey, you're not weak. You're not your injury, but you are injured. Let's fix it, like anything else.
So let me ask you a question about like misdiagnosis. How many guys, or you might not know the answer to this, but I can think of 3 just within the last year, because I do a lot of peer support work.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 guys that were diagnosed post-traumatic stress,
mm-hmm.
but come to find out they actually had TBI.
Right.
How often have you really? I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit, but if a TBI goes undiagnosed and untreated, it's that's bad shit.
Yeah.
So, in your experience, does that happen a lot? Have you, do you guys have statistics on that possibly, or anything like that?
Well, here's the statistics as we know it, man. Roughly speaking, 350,000 diagnosed traumatic brain injuries since the start of the war. About 150,000 PTSD, and I could be wrong on those numbers, and I apologize. I can't support it with documentation right now, but our website does.
Okay.
But here's the important factor, man, is that, yes, it is often misdiagnosed, and here's why. By definition, post-traumatic stress is simply a behavioral issue. So if there's any component of physical trauma in your timeline, then by definition, it cannot be post-traumatic stress, okay? So post-traumatic stress is, hey, I witnessed something and it was horrible, and now I have difficulties because of it, right? Now, you might be having the symptoms of post-traumatic stress, but if you had trauma in your timeline, then it's because of a traumatic brain injury, all right? And we now know, man, hey, you don't have to be knocked out in a coma to get a TBI. It's not that difficult. And, we talked about it on the Rogan podcast, but everybody's different. Everybody's neurochemistry is different. Everybody's DNA is different. And then you put in environmental factors, medication, and other things, exposure to heavy metal, all those can trigger a neurochemical change in your brain that constitutes a traumatic brain injury. So there's a number of factors there. So, and we have the literature to support it, that when we take a person that is just diagnosed PTS and we treat them as if it was a physical injury, guess what? Their PTS goes away. You know what I mean? So I can't say how many numbers of people that were diagnosed post-traumatic stress are misdiagnosed, but I'll put my whole reputation and my mortgage that the majority of them are.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of a big thing. I was just trying to realize, I'm trying to reconcile some stuff of my own.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that doesn't get there's not one end all be all, but therapies work some and this and that and the other thing, but it's a matter of what causes TBI.
Right.
I feign ignorance because I really haven't done a lot of research on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe I need to dig a little deeper. So
well, yeah, man. I mean, it's there's two components to a TBI. That's the physical component, which is blunt force trauma, blast wave, stop and go jerk motion from being in an automobile accident, something like that. So that's the first part of it, the active component. The second component of that is the silent component, which is the post-traumatic inflammation, right? So the swelling, so to speak, of the brain, which causes oxidative stressors in your brain,
right.
that causes the changes in your neurosteroid balance. But hey, man, here's like the things you can list off to say, okay, did I have a TBI? It's any period or loss of consciousness, any loss of memory for events immediately before or after the accident, any alteration in mental state at the time of the accident. So like feeling just confused or dazed, or got your bell rung, something like that. And then also you can do some of the Glasgow coma scales. But I mean, think about that, dude. Anytime that you had an altered mental state after an event, that by definition is a traumatic brain injury. It's a minor head trauma, but those compounded over time are worse than a one significant blast. And so people in the military have suffered, I don't want to say suffered, have incurred that time and time again as just tricks of the trade. And we're not complaining or saying, wish this didn't happen or whatever. We're just calling a spade. And we're saying, hey, if you think you've fallen off the fucking crazy train, it's probably because, you shot 500,000 rounds in your 20-year career, and it's probably altered your chemistry up a little bit.
Right. Because one of my big things is I've drowned a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's what's happened,
Right.
Yeah, man, it just gets me thinking. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but what we need, man, is solid answers and supported evidence. So people are like, hey, man, I wonder what constitutes a head trauma, or what are the effects, or anything else. We're trying to provide resources where we can answer all this, and not just going off of what somebody says, backed up, by the literature, saying, hey, here's where it comes from. These are the studies that are done, and here's what we found. And I don't know why nobody else in the VA or the medical system wants to pay attention to this, but we'll put it out. And so guys can, do the reading, do the fact finding for yourself and come to your own conclusions. But, and that's what we want. We want guys to do their due diligence. Do your due diligence, but the answers are out there.
Yeah, they are. All right. I like it.
Cigars and Sea Stories is proud to support and sling Counter-Strike Coffee. Counter-Strike Coffee, I want you to know, is meant to be drink black. Now, I myself love coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. I went away from black coffee for a little while. Needed the cream and sugar when I was rocking it with the generic blend. Counter-Strike Coffee brought me back into the fold in a huge, huge way. They do a great dark roast. I'm a big fan of napalm. That's my fave. Smooth operator is good, though. It can go with cakes and pies, and I got a bit of a sweet tooth. I know a couple of us do, And then also Firewatch. I mean, Firewatch, that's going to be the kick in the ass that you need in order to get your day going the right way. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't already done so, check out counterstrikecoffee.com. Use promo code CIGARSandC. You will get 10% off. Again, that's counterstrikecoffee.com. Use promo code CIGARSandC to get yourself 10% off.
Well, brother, I appreciate everything you're doing and the candor that you've shown in bringing your stories to light for the sake of other veterans also having the courage to seek help, because so many of us are still trying to carry that, and they don't have that hormonal support in their own brain or in their own body to continue. And so much of our resilience is that push through, that keep going no matter what. And so to give guys hope like that and to say, hey, look, we could get it so that you're back on top. We can't fix everything, but we could get it so that your mental state is back. And so any other guys, how can guys immediately start looking for the help? And then 2, how can guys that are looking to help you get involved with that?
Yeah, so on our website, you go to our treatment page if you want treatment. You sign. You can just follow, take all signs from the tower, man. Everything's there in black and white, step by step, and it's a really easy process. So you get your information, and you start being tracked in our system, and that's the way into the pipeline. That being said, we have a number of people on the waiting list, so we're not discouraging anybody. That onus falls on me to go out and try to get the funding necessary to get all these guys treatment, and that's what I spend the majority of my time doing, is figuring out how to do that. If guys are out there and they're and they can help, what I found mostly with guys in the community is not direct financial support from anybody. It's putting us in contact with people that you think could be of benefit, that having some kind of sponsorship or relationship with us could be a mutually benefiting deal. So we need those relationships of people that can put us in the right places to talk to people who are interested in sponsorship or maybe do have the means to help. Because at the end of the day, it's a non-for-profit, and all this is done. This treatment has come because of people's generosity to donate and help. And that being said, man, we've come up with platforms where guys can help themselves and do their own fundraisers for themselves that will go directly towards their treatment. Through our platform on our website, all our guys on our waiting list, we fund new patients once a month, and all the guys who don't get funded, they get an update. Hey, man, we didn't have the funding to fund you this month. Here's our resources that you can use to go out there and raise your own money. And everything that will be done will be online, so it's legitimate through our 501c3. And anybody that gives to your cause gets a tax-deductible receipt. So I didn't want anybody saying, hey, I don't want to hear anybody complaining about resources. What I want people to do is realize they need to be resourceful. So you want treatment and you're not getting treated yet, we have options for you to go out there and be resourceful and, meet us halfway, do something, be able to earn some of your own money through a fundraiser, and we'll do whatever we can to help meet you at halfway. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right. No, that's a good call to action. And it's Andrew Marr here with Warrior Angels Foundation. And again, the website's warriorangelsfoundation.org. That's warriorangelsfoundation.org. And go ahead and get signed up. I've already gone there and started poking around in a variety of different ways. Not just in preparation for the show, but also, Christ, man, like I said, we were driving down the road, and I was so intrigued by this that I immediately pulled it up on my phone.
Yeah, that's a bad call,
of course,
bro.
hated that because I was driving and going 85 miles an hour. Was that fucked up?
You're horrible.
Am I not supposed to do that? So, but I tell you what, man, it really is one of those things where it's like you're adding value to the world. So, keep doing it.
Hey, before we let you go, we are Cigars and Sea Stories, and our listeners would very much appreciate if you have a funny little tidbit
story.
or some sort of moment of fame
or otherwise.
Sea story.
Yeah, come on, A-Team, what do you got?
Yeah. I'm trying to.
You can use names, don't use names,
So Hannibal walks in.
You're fucked up.
And then it was like,
most everything we've ever done is 100% have plausible deniability. So I need to think long and hard about that. Man, I'm sorry. Just keep
Right?
talking, and something will come to mind that will fit the bill.
I mean, even if it's something from like the barracks, like back in the day, or some weird, you know what I mean? Some of those.
I do. You've caught me so out of left field that something will come up. No, it's all good. It's all good. I should probably have like 3 or 4 on hand.
Sorry, brother.
At all times, and the fact that I don't.
Right.
Well, Mike, do an icebreaker story.
Well,
You're
okay.
good at pulling things out.
Well, it's funny because the reason why I do the whole theme song is because we had ODA come out our way when we were in Kajaki, and anytime they came around, wearing like civilian attire, it'd be like Go Fasters and 3-month beards and shit. I would just, I would just blast them. Dun 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 dun. Like, hey, you guys are supposed to be covert, right? And they're like, dude, what the fuck, man? I'm like, you're in a chow hall full of jarheads, bro. Chill. Like, you are not in a shura full of Afghans right now. You can calm the fuck down. We all got guns too. Okay. But all of these different operators, anybody that I met, of course, silent professionals, makes perfect sense. I'm a loudmouth jarhead who climbs into a supercharged Humvee and triumphantly rides into battle with raging freedom
different
fighters.
conflict,
So
brother.
that was
Hey,
like
I
my
have
style of
my
conflict.
ODA rules to live by here that we wrote down, just funny shit over a span of a year, and they're in the the 10 commandment type tablets. So I'll start listing some of these off. They're funny, and there's backstories behind all of them, so we can break it down further if you guys want. So ODA rule to live by: number 1, never get less than 12 hours of sleep. Number 2, never play cards with someone who has the same first name as a city. Number 3, stay away from chicks with tattoos of daggers anywhere on their body.
Hey, shit.
All those are from Teen Wolf, by the way.
Actually, number 1.
That's just
get less than
worldly
12
advice
hours
in
of
general.
sleep.
Yeah.
The fact is, though, if you get 12 hours of sleep, you're only there half the time,
I mean, there you have it.
right?
It's
a 6-month deployment, a year deployment. Or let's say it's 12-month
There it
deployment.
is.
You sleep 12 hours a day. You're only there 6 months.
that's a great way of looking at it. That glass is half full, if you ask me.
Exactly. Oh, shit.
You are a fucking
number
rocket
4. This
surgeon,
came
Bennett.
from our team sergeant, who was the head NCO. It's talking about command. We're gonna backdoor those motherfuckers, even though it's illegal as shit. That was awesome because everything we did, he's like, I don't care what those ass clowns up there say. We're gonna do it however we want, whether it's legal or not. Which was just great advice. Number 5, getting tattooed in the team room by an unlicensed artist in Washington is a felony. We're all guilty of that one. Yeah, we had a Mormon on the team, a very good friend of mine. So he had the
big
3
deal.
S's. The 3 S's. You don't wear the Mormon panties for swimming, sweating, or sex was commonly known through our team.
That's fantastic.
But that's a real deal, man, because we were giving him a hard time. And he's like, listen, man, you don't wear the Mormon underwear for swimming, sweating, or sex, okay? The 3 S's. We were like, what? Okay. That's going on the board.
So true.
Anyways,
Hell yeah.
and so
Hell
that's
yes.
just some
Hell yes.
team guy tomfoolery there.
Fantastic. Right there.
Yeah.
So where were you out of? Where'd you deploy to, or can you even tell us that?
Yeah. All my time in Afghanistan was spent in Helmand, Kandahar, and Wardak.
Where in Helmand were you? I was in Kajaki and Sangin.
Yeah, I was in Sangin. Robinson. Bob Rob.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. I was PV Kumbadi, about 700 meters south of Jackson.
Okay.
And it fucking sucked. And they left us out there. And then we were like in between 2 different units at the same time. We had like no chow and water and like 3 radios and stuff. It fucking blew. It fucking blew. I hate Sangin.
When was that? What year?
11. It was my last tour, and then I was out.
Yeah.
So it was Ramadi.
Yeah. That was a rough place.
Yeah. Well, and it was very interesting also because Jocelyn and I were in 3-7 for 2 tours in Ramadi, 05 and 07. And then 3rd Battalion 7th Marines was in Sangin prior to 1-5, which was my unit, but I was detached. So it was very strange being a former 3-7 Marine, having the unit go in, then take over for the unit, but I wasn't there the entire time. They flew my happy ass up to Kajaki, right, then come back down. So it was weird. It was a strange deployment overall. But yes, Sangin, especially Sangin proper, and the bazaar and the cemetery and the it was just
was
weird.
the dam still heavily contested in 2011?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were the last ones up there that had the bubble as far as the flat was concerned. When we came down, a lot of our after actions went to hire for 1-6 to make the push up 3-9 to Gunner Maurice. So, or 6-10, excuse me. So, yeah, it was one of those areas where you could see all the Taliban flags out there. You know what I mean, with the 40 buys. And then
gotta love that shit.
Well, what was fun? Okay, so this stuff can definitely be talked about. So, like, a lot of you guys would come through to recon the missions to go up north in order to hit that area, and that area is completely ran through now. But they would come through and they would do their missions and stuff, and it was outside of the bubble. And in my opinion, from this grunt's perspective, it was the absolute perfect way for special operations and non-conventional advisor style, like warfare to work hand in hand. Because a lot of the teams would go out and operate, and it wasn't RAO to begin with. It was like that perfect distance away. Yeah, you're about 1,200 meters out. Like, yes, perfect. And then our cops had the area, and it got shitheads moving around, and it was great. And then, like, you guys would come through with A-10s in support.
Yeah.
And it would sound, they called it the voice of Allah.
Yeah.
Going through the valley. You're just like,
oh, yeah.
Yes,
I love it.
Yes. Stand out there with binos and green gear, and you're just listening to birds. Dude, like, some of those A-10 pilots are clinically insane. I have witnessed a barrel roll, like, dive in, like, strafing run. I didn't think that you could do it, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to aircraft. You know what I'm saying? I've seen them barrel roll in flight, but to watch them spin
well,
towards
those
the earth
A-10s are among the most maneuverable planes there are.
Dude, that's so cool, though. I just love all that shit.
They're very slow, but they're really agile, if I recall correctly. So they can
man.
Do
the A-10 is your best friend in those situations, and because they can get in and get out and identify that stuff. But like you said, man, that's funny. Like, just like, I think it's finding that minimum safe distance, or what's the minimum distance that I can be away from the bubble and affect shit and kind of be out on my own. I like that, man. That's good business.
Yes. Well, it's sexy.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we'll just step out right outside of your perimeter where you can't tell us what to do, but if shit hits the fan, we know we can have you come.
Oh yeah,
fairly quick.
Oh yeah. Well, then it was cool too as an advisor, because one time you guys had stirred up the hornet's nest, and they operated. You know how they go out and around, obviously, just to avoid us. They were going out to the hills there, and we had our cops get in touch with us. And we're like, hey, we're going to do this raid. We got this guy. So they were like, it's already set up. All set up, Marines. All set up, Marines. We're like, what? Like, what the shit is going on? So they just had us clear out in LZ. I mean, just field expedient LZ. We cleared it out, swept it. Everything was good. And then they disappeared over the mountain. And we were there. Oh, God. Like, if you ever send the guys that you're training with, we didn't send them. That's the other thing. We didn't send shit. It was their operation. We happened to be there. But we were the ones who were training side by side. And we had done live fire ranges and shoot, move, communicate, and all of these things that you don't normally do with your local PD. But we were there at that level. They went over the other side of the mountain. They killed like 8 of theirs. head guy, along with 2 or 3 of his, got away. We get into a firefight later on. They come back. Long story short, one of our dudes got a zinger on the hip. Everybody else made it out alive.
Yeah.
And they nabbed 8 of theirs. And it
Yeah.
was just like, yes! Like, fuck yes. It was just, it was one of those motivating things where you got to see the entire team in action. That doesn't happen all of the time. You don't get that shit when you're a PFC in Ramadi driving a fucking Humvee.
No.
Which group were you in stateside?
First group, and that's up in Fort Lewis, Washington, south of Seattle.
Beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it up there. Largest military installation in the continental United States. It sure is. Believe it or not, it's not by population. That's Fort Bragg, but by square mileage, acreage, is whatnot. It's like 430 something thousand acres.
Huh. See, I thought it was Fort Hood, but interesting.
No, they're up around 400,000 too. But the largest one is Lewis McChord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked by that too.
Wow.
So that's exactly what I thought it would be, Hood or Bragg or something. But Bragg is the highest by population, by a lot actually.
Did you spend time at Bragg?
No, I was actually a 10th Mountain guy.
Okay. No, Lewis was a cool spot, man. Kind of unknown gym, because you're right there in the Seattle, Tacoma,
Yeah, man.
Olympia metropolitan area. So if the base were to go away, that area wouldn't miss a beat. And
No, not at all.
Most people don't even know it's there. So, I spent a good amount of time at Fort Bragg, where Fayetteville lives and runs by the beat of the military.
Absolutely.
And it's a military town. And so I really enjoyed getting out there, man, because it was like, man, nobody knows anything out here. And it's not a military feel. It was awesome. I never spent any time in the Northwest. And I'm thankful for my time out there, dude. It was really cool.
It is a cool place. I have a couple buddies that were out there that I went out and saw. They actually were with me at 10th Mountain, and then when they stood up the interim brigades, the striker vehicles and all that, they were some of the first guys out at Lewis with with those units.
2ID.
Yeah, so yeah, and I went out and visited, and that was cool, man. It's gorgeous out there. So. Yeah, I'm a little envious because I was stuck in freaking Watertown, New York, freezing my balls off.
Yeah, I hadn't heard too many good stories about.
I mean, if you're an outdoorsman, it's kind of cool, but other than that, that's it. That's it, man. Because it's deers and fish. That's it. Deers.
Is that a deers? Oh my god.
Deer? Deers and fish. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're either hunting or fishing.
Deers is
They're trying to deflect fat chicks out of Watertown.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Anyway.
Yes. Dude, I'm jealous of you guys who go up to the Northwest area. I met a few bubbas who went up to Bangor for security forces, and they dug that area in a huge way. What's that?
Bangor, Maine is northeast.
No,
Bangor.
man. Bangor, Washington's where there's a nuclear weapons facility.
Oh.
And our security forces go out there and guard it. So a lot of DMs that I went to school with, they were going back up to Bangor.
So you're giving away all the secrets. Shh.
Secrets my ass. Do you know how many people try walking onto Bangor every year? Come on now. They ain't trying to hide that place, that's for damn sure.
Oh, no shit.
I'll tell you what, though.
It's pretty secure, right?
Right?
You would hope, right?
I assumed it was. I don't know.
I know for a fact that it is. You definitely don't want to try walking on there. I can tell you that much right now. Okay. So we could, it's good. Like you can talk about. Least, right? It's like you can talk about 29 Palms, for instance. You want to go out to 29 Palms? Go for it. It's 932 square miles, the largest base that the Marine Corps has. We blow shit up there every day. Go for it. Who the fuck cares? What would you do if you got onto a nuclear facility anyhow? If you had negative intentions, man, you better bring the pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, though. It's like, it's like in Quantico every once in a while you get guys, for the most part, they have a gate in and around Quantico. But you hear folks, you hear folks coming up to, let's just say the perimeter near Camp David and stuff. That's something that we definitely can't talk about, which I've never been there, but we've had guys who, they worked out there in Yankee White, and they're like, yeah, you get sightseers all the time who come up to the perimeter trying to figure out what's going on. It's all good. People can come up and stuff. You ain't taking any pictures, and if you do, you ain't leaving with that camera.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, how it is. Who cares? It's one of those deals. Just don't go there. Who gives a fuck? And my buddy who did work there, he's like, I can tell you this much right now. It's a bunch of green buildings. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. It's like once you've gone, we went just yesterday, we were getting our CCHs here. We went onto the National Guard base, right? And what'd you say, Jocelyn, when we were in there?
Oh, it felt like being in like your cousin's house or your like a relative's house. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was weird, like similar stuff that's all on the walls everywhere with military stuff, but it was just different. It was slightly different.
Right.
It was
Right.
Right.
Can't put your
man.
finger on it, but
You're like, and it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to talk shit by any means. It's just weird. Each person has a different, unique experience, being in the military and stuff. Ours was being stuck in the middle of the fucking desert wherever we went. You got to hang out in Tacoma, Washington. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there for those guys who, might want to get recruited. I would rather go your route. No offense. No, no offense to the Corps out there or anything, but that sounds like a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, I guess for every Lewis man, they got Fort Polk, Louisiana.
That's true. That's a good point.
Places
The armpit.
places in in the middle of Kansas and Oklahoma and this, that, and the other. So it's no different than anything else, man. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No,
Hey, Andrew, I'm loving what you're doing, man, and I know I'll definitely be in touch to talk offline about some things, some synergy that could happen.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
in a huge way.
well, and also we will put the word out to everyone that listens to us, and we'll get you on our
On all of our Facebook groups.
On everything.
Yeah.
We'll blow it up everywhere. So.
Yeah, and get me the link as soon as it's available, man. And obviously, we'll put it on our media page and push that out as well.
Killer. Yeah, dude, stay in touch. Keep adding value to the world, Andrew Marr.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate the opportunity. I really do. And I was telling Michael the other day, it's a phenomenal achievement what you guys have done in such a short amount of time, and the audience that you've created in that amount of time, man. So same to you guys. Keep doing it. Keep adding value yourself, and don't fall back to the median or care what anybody else says if you know what you're doing is right, because most of the times it is.
Hell yes.
Mediocrity is not an option, my friend.
Negative.
Absolutely.
Invictus. Hell yes. Listeners.
All right, guys. I appreciate that. I appreciate it again.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was an honor and a privilege, brother. Listeners, please subscribe, rate, review. You can do so on Stitcher, iTunes, Player FM. Go ahead, check out warriorangelsfoundation.org, warriorangelsfoundation.org. Look them up. If you're a veteran in need, like a lot of us probably are, it's cool, man. It's all good. We're all part of the warrior culture. Go on there, check them out. Look at your different options and stuff like that. Get signed up. It's going to be kick-ass. All right. Cool. Jocelyn, cue the music.